case manager's not going to introduce a straight couple and say there's a straight couple that wants to adopt you, is that okay? So there's no reason that it should happen to us.
We all feel lonely because we were isolated, but then at the same time I was going through this whole process of life in a wheelchair.
For every 100 products we bought, they gave one to the community.
I feel like I am living up the best potential that I can.
The Rocky Mountains split Colorado along the Continental Divide, separating water distribution, among other elements. Geographically, the western side of the divide takes up about a third of the state and only about 10% of the state's population. But there are a wide range of people, perspectives, and voices to share from the western slope.
Hi, how are you?
We want to start with this collection of stories as we work to create a Colorado where everyone feels seen and heard.
Hey, my name is Jay Wells. I had two loves, guitars and motorcycles. I was in a motorcycle accident and I lost both. Back starting about 12 years old, I used to sneak my dad's guitar out, and he had a 1956 Telecaster. So I'm left-handed, so I played it left-handed, upside down. My buddy and I, Frank, we played all the time, and we had good equipment, so we ended up playing at places because we sounded good. I got in a band playing behind vocalists, and I just fell in love with that because I love those background, either violins or steel guitar, pedal steel. And those were the things I was actually copying. Sometimes horn sections without realizing it, because I'm just in the background following the vocal stuff. My grandfather set me on a motorcycle when I was probably 6 or 7, and he idled it up and said, okay, go. And I didn't have to do throttle, but I learned how to ride. And so motorcycles were always part of my life. So I enjoy riding trails, evening rides or in the morning, and we just happened to be up in the Book Cliffs and not really doing anything, following it, heading back, just following a trail. And the guy in front of me missed the turn. He didn't know going downhill there was a right-hand turn. And so he fell over. And it was one of those things in slow motion that I'm thinking, you know, that looked funny. And I decided to miss him because I could have hit him and maybe hurt him a little bit, scrape him up or something, but I decided to miss him. My fall was just nothing, but I just hit wrong. I hit the top of my head instead of the side, so that fractured the vertebrae, just the angle of the impact. When they say quadriplegia, that's a scary word because that was all 4. I was paralyzed from the neck down. They flew me to Denver, and there was a girl who met me there whom I had not seen in probably 10 years. And I remember they told me, she asked the doctor, will he ever play guitar again? And I thought, well, you know, my biggest concern is, am I ever going to be able to hug my girls again? So along, pretty much past where my therapy is plateaued, my brother came by and visited, not really understanding what the word quadriplegic means. He took his old Les Paul and put it in my lap, and he said, play it or drop it. I thought, well, come on. And then I realized when I grabbed the neck, I naturally put my palm up, and I found myself moving my fingers a little bit. Yeah, I decided, you know, if I can move my fingers a little bit, let's go there and find out. So I started thinking about guitars, and I thought of a Stratocaster because it's got the tummy cut and the forearm cut. And I started thinking, well, I just build my own. My first one didn't work, it was okay. My second one, I call it Quadracaster 2. I used to play it and then tear it down and cut some more out and then play it, and I adapted them. And then when I built Q3, I had a good start, and it's a pretty fun one. They're all pretty good because I can pretty much reach everything. You'll see the way I play, you know, but. I've had it great. I have beautiful daughters, you know, and all I wanted to be able to do was hug them. Well, we do a lot of stuff together. Just don't give up hope, you know, because I had a lot of people say, oh, that's too bad. No, it's actually real good, because now sure, there's a list of things I can't do, but guess what I can do? And I do them.
Well, as the legend goes, I was 4 years old and I was living with my mother in Mexico City. And we went to a bookstore that sold English language books. They were expensive books. And I saw this one origami book, Secrets of Origami by Robert Harbin. And I fell in love with the book and I wanted the book, but my mom didn't want to buy it because it was so expensive. And in typical 4-year-old fashion, I pitched a fit. And they had to take me out of the store. And afterwards, my father, who was in town visiting, went back to the store and got me the book. And I basically taught myself from that. So from this book, I learned the language of origami. I learned how to read the diagrams, how to orient myself, and how to fold along the line, whether it's a mountain fold or a valley fold, how to turn the model around or fold this edge to this point. Just all the little bits and pieces of language that make up the instructions of making an origami model. So people talk about origami as the ancient art of Japanese paper folding, but the truth is that today's origami is neither ancient nor really Japanese. Origami as an art form was revived in the 1950s by a man named Akira Yoshizawa. He was Japanese, but in Japan at the time, origami was something that was taught to kindergartners. And kindergarten itself came from Europe. It was invented in the early 19th century by a man named Friedrich Froebel. And the origami portion of his curriculum was based on the folding of napkins, which is why we start with a square and why we are not allowed to make any cuts. So over the years, I did origami on and off. You know, I would do it for a few years and then take a few years off. And in the mid-1990s, I got into modular origami, which is not representational. We are not trying to fold something that looks like a bird or a chair or some object, but rather more of an abstract geometric style. This one is called the tessellation. It is basically a tiling of folds, and it's interesting because it is different on each side, and it is a single solid sheet of paper with no cuts. So people are fascinated by origami because it's a magic trick. You are taking something very, very ordinary, a piece of paper, and transforming it into something else, you know, with only the magic of your hands and no additional ingredients. So why do I do this? What's the point? There is not much of a point. It's more about the process than the product. I enjoy folding a little piece of paper. It gives me an escape into a very small and ordered world for a few minutes, and then I can pick back up with whatever I was doing. It lets me be patient while waiting for something to finish, or it lets me distract myself when I need to think about something that's difficult to think about directly. It's just a tool that helps me get through the day, and at the end you have this physical object that you can give away to people.
When you're in a
wheelchair, you can't hide. You're gonna stick out and people are gonna notice you. It's okay that they see the chair first. That's gonna happen, you know? I don't blame them for going, oh, a person in a wheelchair. I'm the only one usually in the room that's in a wheelchair. I get it, it's no secret that I'm in a wheelchair. Like, I'm not surprised. Where do we go from there? Are you only focused on what my disability is and me in a wheelchair, or do you care about the person that's in the chair? Do you care about the person that's sitting there? What's their interests? What do they like? What's their personality? You know, so it's where you go after that. Maybe start with, hi, how are you? Or you look really great today. Or, hi, my name is this, what's your name? It's okay to see the wheelchair, but then there's a person that's in that wheelchair. So I have a genetic disorder called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's a mouthful. A lot of people call it EDS for short. And it is a connective tissue disorder. And so essentially all your connective tissue, but think about your ligaments, tendons, all of that, are too loose. Your skin, everything like that. And so my joints dislocate. So I'll be walking and then my hip will come out, or my SI joint will come out, or, you know, whatever it is. And I did have it all my life, but it progressively got worse and I didn't know what it was. It took 6 years for us to figure out what the heck was going on. It's not about the disability, it's about who I am as a person. And so I want to keep being me. I want to keep doing the things I love. I want to keep, you know, going out and doing my favorite things with my husband and our dogs and going on walks or rolls. I grew up dancing, and so that was hard when I started having to use a wheelchair, realizing that I couldn't do dance, or I thought I couldn't do dance. The empowering side of it is that it's more a mindset than it is about your disability. I started using a wheelchair right before quarantine, and then we went into quarantine, and it was a whole new experience because not only did we all feel lonely because we were isolated, but then at the same time I was going through this whole process of life in a wheelchair and life as a woman with a disability. And so it felt lonely on a different level. Through Instagram, I found this dance company called The Rollettes, and it's a wheelchair dance team. I grew up dancing, and so I was so excited when I saw that there was a team of dancers just like me. Yes, Katie! Doing it in chairs, and not just like, oh, that's cute, but like, oh my gosh, they are good. Like, okay, they can dance. When you're the only person in the room that looks like you, that moves like you because you're in a wheelchair, and then you enter a room of over 200 women that look just like you and are rolling around just like you, I can't even explain the feeling. The confidence I gained from Rollette's experience and being there and realizing that I wasn't alone and I didn't have to give up on life or who I was or what I did, or just that I could be a confident young woman that I am and don't have to limit myself just because my brain tells me, oh, you're in a wheelchair, now you can't do this. The confidence that I've gained from my disability of being like, okay, if I'm gonna be in a wheelchair and this is what it's gonna be, then what do I want people to see?
Life as a foster parent over the last 8 years has been kind of crazy. There's been a lot of ups and downs, really goods, and kind of some really rough times. But overall, it's been a journey that we would definitely do again. My name is Jared Prochnow, and this is my husband, Matthew Foster. We have been married for 5 years, together for 15 years. Over the course of our 8-year journey, we have fostered over 60 kids. And we've adopted 6.
So we have Ty and Ethan, and they're a sibling group. They were our first adoptions, actually. Ethan was the first one that we adopted, followed by his sister. And then Isaiah and Josiah were our second adoptions. And then our final 2 are Alexander and Jackson. Most of our kids, when we adopted them, were teenagers, and so we knew our time with them would be short, but we still wanted younger kids and we wanted the experiences of parenting. So then when we found the youngest 2, they were 3 and 6 at the time. And we've really had the opportunity to really raise them and have those fun moments. And so we decided to kind of quit while we were ahead. So, and 6 kids is a lot.
We've actually been really fortunate, at least I feel like we've been really fortunate. However, there have been several times, I remember one specifically, that there was a sibling group, I think of 3 boys, that were potentially adoptive, and they wanted to potentially place them in our home. And the case manager from DHS talked to the kids and said that there's a gay couple that is potentially interested in having you in their home. Are you guys okay with that? And all of the boys said no. And so there wasn't even a possibility of meeting these kids or going through that process, which is frustrating just because that's not something that would happen to a straight couple. Case manager's not going to introduce a straight couple and say there's a straight couple that wants to adopt you, is that okay? So there's no reason that it should happen to us. And that is really kind of the big one that has stood out to me, being a gay couple in the foster care system, but it's frustrating at times.
That's good.
I told you.
When we got out here, the first thing that I told him was, this probably won't go so well because we're going to Fruita and it's very rural. But then Fruita's really embraced us and we've had a lot of backing. And so even in those moments of chaos and uncertainty, everybody was still here. Coming to Fruita has really made us blossom as a couple and as a family, but it's also been our main support. So it pushed us through a lot of things in the end.
It's exciting to see where we're at with a lot of the kids. We have the opportunity, like you mentioned, to raise the younger 2 almost from the time that they were young enough to really be able to remember. But then at the same time, we've had a huge impact with the teenagers. And it's a little scary to kind of push them out of the nest, and we've really only had a short amount of time with them. But the young men that they've become are incredible. Our daughter, who's 22, is an amazing person. She made us grandpas 2 years ago. And so we get to play around with our granddaughter, who's another incredible kid that we get to spend time with. And it's really been a fantastic journey.
When I brought up, free menstrual products, people were like, in Hickville, nowhere. This isn't even the Front Range. Like, this is Western Slope. And I was like, we're gonna do it. And we did it. For someone like me, I've had an experience, especially in middle school, where I didn't have anything and I was super unprepared, and you have that walk of shame to the nurse's office. As a young person in school, knowing that I've been through that and other people are gonna go through that, I really just want people to be comfortable and know that if they go through something like that, that they're covered by their school and that they don't need to, do that walk of shame to the nurse's office every time. I was doing SAT practice and I was like, I'm kind of bored, so let me, look into period poverty and statistics on those. And there was, a study shown in a New York school that, they provided free menstrual products and attendance went up by 3%. And, 3% attendance increase doesn't seem like a lot, but anything that can get students, to get to school is a big deal. So I printed out those infographics and I brought them to school. I think I printed 6 copies, and I gave them to teachers and administration that I trusted and had experience with and that I liked, basically. A few teachers told me that they would bring it up in meetings. And about a week later, I get a call from the principal and I'm like, oh shoot, thought I'd have even a little bit of resistance, but I didn't have any. So this is a women's restroom here at Fruita, and this is what the dispensers look like. And you just press one of these buttons and a pad comes out, or you can press this button and a tampon comes out. So we decided to use AntFlow, who is an organization that offers 100% organic cotton pads and tampons, and their whole slogan is they give back. So for every 100 products we bought, they gave 1 to the community. And we bought almost 9,000 products. So that's helping a lot of menstruators annually. These are free, and you can definitely see how many are in a bathroom. And immediately I saw a positive reaction from students. A day after they were here, 5 random people that I barely knew said that it helped them that day. So, it's helping people every single day. Either they can't afford, products every single month, or they just forgot, or they weren't prepared for, getting their period that day. So a big reason why I was so passionate about adding these into the school was because, it's just crazy that we accommodate, we have toilet paper and paper towels, we have to use those things. It's just crazy that we didn't have menstrual products. So I guess with the implementation of free menstrual products here in the school, I'm really hoping that other schools will catch on in the district, especially, that, hey, this is really helping the students out, attendance is hopefully going up.
I feel like I am living up the best potential that I can as a police officer who is a magician, or in this case, as a magician who is going to be a police officer.
So magic showed up. I was in the 4th grade, and Chris Angel had just released this awesome magic kit. Everybody in my class is getting it. So I would go into the stuff that wasn't necessarily self-working, that required a little bit of skill. And I started showing those tricks off, and all my friends who had the same exact thing as I did were impressed. And so I was like, man, if I can do this and impress them with what they know, imagine how much farther I could take it if I can do what they don't.
Childhood was not easy. And there's a lot that I can go into, but it was hard. There were times that were worse than others, and there were times that put my family through the ringer, and it felt like bad luck just followed us everywhere. And if I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all. Whether that was going through foster care or, sleeping at the school, it was hard knowing that. And I don't mean just I didn't get a shirt or whatnot. It was wondering if there was going to be a place that I could sleep that night. I was in theater, and, I had done all the plays, I had been in the musicals, it was great, but, we'd stay really late sometimes, and one night I'm like, I'm just gonna stay here. I'm just gonna go upstairs and I'll find a spot, but I can't go home, I'm not going home tonight. I just wanted to be alone. I just wanted to kind of have a spot that I can not have to be as adult as I was being. I remember one night I was just sleeping, and the janitor was vacuuming up on the 3rd floor, and I was like, oh no, how did I not think of this? Why are they here? And I'm just waiting for her to find me, and they're gonna call my mom, and she stopped right here. Here's the beam, here's me, and she stopped right here. And then next day woke up and did it all over again, went to school, went to theater practice, went back up to my little spot. It was hard, but I made do.
We're gonna take out a card, okay? This is gonna be the card. All right, we're gonna give the deck a cut. I'm gonna snap our fingers. Something magic should happen. And you'll see one card out of all the others change, but it would only be impressive if that was our card. So if we flip it over and we see it is the card, but there's more here, watch. We're gonna take that and we're gonna put it right here for now, and we're gonna leave it right there. And we're gonna get a new card, and we're gonna stop about right here, and this is gonna be the new card. All right, and now that we have that card, we're gonna put it right there. We're gonna snap our fingers. Something magic is gonna happen. It might not happen here, but we have this card here still, and it's right there.
As of right now, I'm a detention deputy at the sheriff's office. I'm joining up with the police department and going to the academy this January. I feel like being a police officer and a magician, it goes hand in hand. It is one of those perks of being able to use what I know to help other people, to make people feel better, and I've seen that happen already in my job at the jail. I believe that as a police officer, as a detention deputy, we are there to help everybody, not just, the people who are, crimes happening to, but the people with the crime, the people with the mistakes. Being able to open myself up to somebody and show them, hey, this is why I'm here, this is what I do. If that can even just help them find their purpose, or if that can help them just smile a little bit, I know that I'm doing my job.
I think you did it too hard. It's, I don't think that was supposed to happen like that.
And that's one of the best parts of being a magician, is I get to make smiles and get to make people feel good. And so it really does just go hand in hand.